Okay, now I've started the recording. I can edit this down, but we've got 4 minutes. And that will, I'll cut this down when we put it on the web on our YouTube page, and then you guys can share it as well. Hi, Danica. Let's see, I'm gonna make you a co-host.
I was planning on watching tonight and letting the volunteers do their thing because they're so good at it.
Very good. That sounds great.
Background makes you look like a space case.
Sometimes that's how I feel, Ken.
I am still too tall for this. I'm gonna find another book here. I'm too tall. Okay, between Neruda and Nabokov, I should be tall enough here.
And how many times have you read those?
Depends on which one you're talking about. There we go. Okay, good.
God, I like your badge. That's a really nice touch.
What's that?
This is an official MG function. Why doesn't
You're right.
Why doesn't everybody have theirs on?
I'll have to go out to the car.
Oh, you have so many badges, just pick one, Tim.
Okay, attendees here. Okay, here we go. We've got a couple attendees coming in now. We've got the panelists. So if you've just signed up, we are going to give it another couple minutes for people to log in here. And I'll just give you a little bit of tips here for those of you in attendance. If you want to ask questions, if you scroll your cursor down to the bottom of the screen, a menu will pop up, and one of those things is Q&A. And so you can ask questions there. And if you have questions for us, you can put them in the Q&A, and then we'll go over that with the after the initial presentation. So that helps. And then there's also chat function. So if you go down to the bottom for chat, you'll be able to see the chat function there and can add comments and whatnot that, and you can decide who sees it. Okay, we're gonna give them another minute. I'm gonna go make sure my dogs are out in the kitchen because they're starting to be very loud. So we're about 2 minutes from starting here. Dogs, I need the dogs. Okay. Hey, go ahead. It's mayhem. Okay.
Yeah.
A couple more people on there. We're going to give two. It's just coming up on 5:30 now, so we've got a couple people that we know are coming that still haven't signed on, so we'll give them another minute before we launch into this. But those of you who are here now, thank you for coming on time. That's bonus points. This is the first ever Garden Wisdom Wednesdays, and my mom is calling me, and she's also simultaneously on this. That's great. So I'm gonna go get that phone, turn it off, and I'll be right back.
I'm gonna apologize in advance if my internet cuts out. It's been a choppy day here at my house, and I think the problem has been resolved, but it's still, you know, wait and see. So if I lose my connection, I will just sit around and see if it comes back.
The times, I think it's like I say, I think it's voodoo in the air. Oh, look at him now, Ken. Look at him.
You find that, Ken? That's a great looking shirt.
You got a badge too.
My badge doesn't.
Hey.
Oh, there we go. Okay, I see most of the people that we are expecting here. And to respect our timing, we're going to give them 30 more seconds, and then we will begin this first edition of Garden Wisdom Wednesdays. Thanks to everybody who's on this now. Just a couple more people signing in, and we will launch into this. got a question already. There we go. Oh, one of the first question that came in while we're waiting was, I can see you, but you can't hear me, right? That was the first question. And for those of you attending, that is correct. This webinar is, we will see the Master Gardeners video and whatnot. During Q&A, depending on how many people stay on, we may open up the microphones for discussion, just depending on how many people are here and want to ask questions after the presentation. But with that being said, we are going to begin. Everybody ready? Very good. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for coming. My name is Abe Powell. I am the Executive Director of the Santa Barbara Bucket Brigade, and with the help of our partners like the UC Master Gardeners who are here tonight, we have launched the Growing Community Project, which is a program based on the tradition of victory gardening, but modernized and brought into the new millennium with a humanitarian farming and gardening approach to support the disaster feeding plan of Santa Barbara County. To get started, I want to introduce you to just places to find information about this program. I'm going to share my screen and we will show you where to get more information about this program in your own time. And here we go. So I am now, if you can all see my screen, I am now on the official Growing Community Project website. And there are a number of things here. There's a lot of information. It's a very robust site. There's tons of information here, a little bit about the victory gardenings in World War I and World War II. We talk about community resilience. And there's a lot to learn on our main page. To learn more, to get more details here under Grow With Us, there are very, very detailed descriptions of the project and ways to get involved. A nice place to go, I think, to get initiated is our step-by-step guide. And if you go there, you will have an explanation of what's going on, a link and to sign up for the program, to download garden manuals here, including the Master Gardeners Home Victory Gardening Manual, as well as a home composting manual. If you need garden bed assistance, if you want to grow in this program and need help setting up a garden bed, which is to say a raised bed garden, we have a link there where we have volunteers making raised beds out of recycled lumber to help you start a home garden. We have plants and seeds that we picked up today from Island Seed and Feed, which is another partner. We have a list of things that we're planting this fall here. A sign up to get seeds and starts if you'd like to help plant your garden this fall. And then a link to get vegetables picked up when you're ready to donate fresh produce. If you have a box worth, you can click on this link and we'll schedule a pickup. And then lastly, what we're all here tonight for, which is Garden Wisdom Wednesdays. So out of their enormous generosity and mercy on, on the Bucket Brigade, they have agreed to help us provide this online education for home gardeners who are either starting a victory garden, trying to work on a home garden and improve their gardening skills and techniques and knowledge, or for advanced gardeners to come and share information and learn together and help build our community knowledge base for resilience farming, resilience gardening, and gardening in general. With that, I'd like to introduce my victory gardening team tonight from the UC Santa Barbara Master Gardeners program. Each of these people are Master Gardeners. And I hope you can see them all on your screen. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can see our panelists here. We have Diane, John, Ken, and Danica. And we are going to let them present their Master Garden instruction here tonight. The way this evening will work is that our Master Gardeners are going to present. And then we will have Q&A. And based on the number of attendees we have, we will I will open up the microphones after the meeting. After the presentation, and you will be invited to ask questions. We have a good mix tonight. We have some beginners, some intermediate gardeners, and some advanced gardeners based on your fill out of our survey in the sign up form. And we appreciate you filling that out. That helps us know we've got a kind of a mix of different gardeners here. And I'm really excited to share this program with you tonight. And to get things kicked off, we have Diane.
Okay. Abe, I think it might be good to do the PowerPoint
Yep.
with the share screen so that my cursor can be seen. I think that would be helpful. If we
Okay.
want to try that. Should we try that?
Okay, so you want to share your screen?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. I'll stop sharing.
Okay. Okay, hello everybody. Let's get up to the first slide.
Okay, we can't see your screen yet.
No?
There we go.
Okay.
Excellent. We can see you now, Diane.
Okay. So hello, and we're very excited to have been invited to be part of this great program. We have a lot to share with you tonight, so we'll get started. If I may be so bold during the chat, if you come up with things that you want us to talk about and give us ideas for future presentations, that would be very helpful to us too. All right, so by way of introduction, this is the way we would like to plan the evening tonight. I'll be giving a very brief overview of your handbook, 5 minutes or so, because we'd like to target a few points. And this is for the purpose of giving you something to take home and think about so that you can start planning and preparing for your fall garden now. And in that spirit, we'll be talking a little bit about site selection, soil texture, season transplants, and as Abe says, the balance will be for Q&A. So by way of...
I may interrupt real quick. There's an icon at the top of your window that if you press it, it will put this PowerPoint into full screen.
Is it there now?
It is.
Okay.
It's actually, if you go up to the red menu bar, you see it looks like a little screen with a play button on it.
How's that? Hello?
This is better. This is better. The icon I'm talking about is just above the design menu.
The design menu. I do.
Yeah, if you go to the, there you go. And then do you see the design option between there? It goes file, home, insert, design.
Design. I see the
Yep,
design.
and you see design. And then if you click the button above design, that one, there you go. Yep, click that.
All right, thank you.
There you go. Thank you. I'm done.
Okay. Here we are. All righty. So we as Master Gardeners, we are a statewide program operated on a county by county basis under the umbrella of the University of California. We are essentially volunteers trained by UC specialists. And the key is that we provide UC research-based gardening information to our community residents. We may not be promoting or teaching certain practices in gardening, and that would be because they are not found to be evidence-based or research-based. So this is your very nice handbook. And this was developed by the staff of the Los Angeles Master Gardeners. And it was designed to accompany the series of vegetable gardening classes that they provide to the residents of Los Angeles. And much like this Bucket Brigade project, the purpose of these gardening classes was to help solve the problem of fresh food availability, especially in this inner cities of Los Angeles County. And so they've graciously made this handbook available to all the Master Gardeners. which is very nice. So I'm going to share a new screen now, which I cannot find. Excuse me.
Just a page down.
No, I need to go to another. I need to go to my handbook, which I can't access now.
If you
Diane,
go
would
up,
you like me to pull up the handbook for you? If you
That would
stop
be
sharing
great,
for a
yeah.
second, I can pull it up.
Okay, I'm stopping share. Sorry about
Okay.
that.
No problem here. All right, 1 second. Let's see. Give me 1 sec here.
So while he's doing that, I will explain that we'll be going through this handbook very, very quickly so that we have time to highlight certain items. Thank you. So I have no control, so.
There we go.
Okay, so I'll just hit page down when I ask you to do that for me, okay, Abe?
Okay.
So you'll be my navigator.
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't see it now. Hello, I don't see the handbook.
Let's see. Zoom share. Here we go. Lost it. All right, let's try again. Sorry. Little loss of screen share there. How about that?
Okay, page down to table of contents, please. Couple more pages. There we go. All right, so we are going to mostly talk a little bit about these two sections because this is the beginning, and the beginning is where you begin. So you can page down, please. Site selection is a really important factor there are certain decisions you need to make a wise selection of where you put your garden. And John is going to be talking a little later on in this hour about that. Page down, please. We have presentations that we can do for you, talking a little more on raised beds. Page down. Now these next few pages that I don't know how relevant container growing of vegetables will be for you, but there is good information in here on that. And if you page down to a table, one more here. Sorry, this is sideways, but on this table, I just want to point out the 5th column up. It says small containers, 4 to 6 inch pots. You can indeed plant something like lettuce in there, but just a tip that the smaller the container, the more you're going to have to babysit and water and feed a container that small. So just a tip, the larger the container, the better. So on next page, plant selection. In our Mediterranean climate, we broadly characterize planting seasons as cool season and warm season, and we'll be talking to you more on that. Page down again. So on this table, I just want to point out the 3rd column under recommended planting dates for the purpose of, thank you, we are South Coast. All of Santa Barbara County is considered South Coast for recommended planting dates. And then over to the right, the next to the last column under crop type, you'll see that the veggies are categorized as warm and cool season. Okay, next topic. One of the most important factors in the success of your garden is healthy soil. So I'll be talking a little more tonight about soil texture. This page looks a little different than what I'm used to. So when it comes to trace elements and testing urban soils, there's a second page on this if you want to page down. It is recommended if you don't know anything about your garden soil that you're going to use for vegetables, as a baseline, you might consider getting it tested. There is a resource at the end of this PowerPoint a list of labs that do soil testing for home gardens. And this includes testing for nutrients, heavy metals, acid base, various other things, soil texture, soil structure. And after reading these 2 pages, you might consider wanting to have your soil tested. This list is not a recommendation, it's just a list of what's out there. And there are probably more labs out there, but that is a list to start from. Next page. Page down. Fertilizing and mulch. These are things in addition to compost that of course help make your soil healthy, and we'll talk more on that in the weeks to come. Page down. Seed starting and transplanting. Ken will touch on that a little bit later this evening. Page down. And there's a lot of good information. As Abe, you can scroll down on these several pages. Lots of information on composting, as well as I know he mentioned you have a really nice little booklet from the city on composting. So a lot of information there. This is a good page to read, especially if you're new. Lots of good information on how to water your food garden. Page down. So this section on pest management, pests, which includes insects, weeds, diseases. I'll just emphasize 2 things on this topic. Master gardeners foster the integrated pest management practices, or IPM, and very briefly described, if you engage in preventative practices, that is selecting the right plant to plant at the right time, in the right situation, with the right care, you do a lot to prevent problems from occurring in the first place. And when problems do occur, there are a number of levels of practices to engage in before, as a very last resort, if you need to, you would engage in chemical pesticide application. So we can page down, several pages. Stop, back up. And this is just to point out this pest triangle. In order to have a pest problem, you have to have these 3 elements in place. You have to have, of course, the disease, insect, or weed. In addition, you have to have a plant that's susceptible and an environment that's favorable to the disease, insect, or weed. Okay, next. Next. Harvesting. We can talk about that later as it becomes more relevant later in the season, as well as tips on storing. Next. And this is a good page to read. It's lots of good practices on just safety practices for your home vegetable garden. Next. Just a couple of pages from botany. Next. Chemical safe use and disposal. Now on this resource page, there are 2 resource pages in the LA handbook. And of course, these are specific pretty much to Los Angeles. And we have another one. I don't know if you can screen share that. Thank you, perfect. So Danica, our program coordinator, has designed this for Santa Barbara. And the first 2 links are part of our Santa Barbara Master County website. The first bullet point, the monthly garden tips, that gives you a very nice month-by-month guide on what to do in your garden. And I'll quickly just go down to other UC websites. The one called California Garden Web. This is a wonderful, very comprehensive website. You'll learn everything you could about vegetable gardening. It's encyclopedic. And we access that when we're doing some of our training too. So I really highly recommend that. And I think that's it for me. If we want to go back to the PowerPoint, and we'll have John.
Can you give me the password again here, Diane? Oh.
0646.
Got it. There we go. There we go. Take it away. John, are you going to go next or Ken?
Should I unmute myself? I just did.
Perfect.
Excuse me, if you could just move down, I think a couple more slides to get to John's title page. Couple more. There we go. And you can just rest it there.
Hello, my name is John Cookson. I've been a master gardener for 2.5 years. And tonight I have a short talk on raised bed locating and planting your raised bed. When I was preparing this talk, I tried to memorize it. It didn't work. So I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way and just read it. Pardon the reading. Locating your raised bed. Vegetables need full sun for 6 to 8 hours for optimal growth. The sun is always south in California. The furthest north the sun gets is 22.5 degrees at the summer solstice. Santa Barbara County is at 34 degrees north. If you face the sun around noon, you will be facing south. The coastline of Santa Barbara County's south coast runs east-west, which results in a great southern exposure. If your raised bed is rectangular, orient the bed so one of the long sides is facing south to take maximum advantage of the southern exposure. Trees. Trees have a couple of problems. Shade and root flare. Trees have roots that extend horizontally just under the ground up to twice the canopy diameter. 90% of these roots are in the upper 3 feet of the soil and 70% are in the top 1 foot of the soil. This is a typical tree. Different families of trees have more or less root flare and are more or less invasive. And I can tell you from personal experience, citrus trees are very invasive. These lateral roots can and probably will grow into your raised bed and take up water and soil minerals. Root and leafy crops can tolerate some shade. Vegetable gardening is a weather-related activity. Temperature is the most important factor affecting the success of your vegetable garden. This is a quote from a UC source that I picked up. Plant growth rate doubles for each 18-degree rise in temperature. Plants do grow day and night. Plants use energy that's produced and stored during the day when they grow at night. Rate of growth at night depends on the nighttime temperature. Climatic factors affecting plant growth. Day and nighttime temperature, wind, length of day, light intensity, angle of the sun. These factors determine air and soil temperature. Soil temperature is very important. Planting your raised bed. Make a map of the bed before planting. Use space efficiently. Tall plants and first plantings at the back or north end of the bed, then lower growing plants towards the front or south end of the bed. Go vertical whenever possible. Peas, beans, and cucumbers can all be grown on trellises. Use tomato cages for tomatoes. Plant vegetables that spread, such as squash and melons, at the edges or corners of the bed so they can trail down over the edge of the raised bed as they grow. Plant herbs that spread, such as oregano, in a pot, then bury the pot at a corner or on the side of the bed. Plan for watering. Plan for water saving and ease of watering. Hills and short parallel rows are a possibility rather than one long row. And I have a little recap here. Why did I talk so long about south and southern exposure? So you will remember to orient your raised bed for maximum southern exposure. Why is maximum southern exposure a good thing? Sun provides the energy necessary for plant growth. The warmer the weather, the faster a plant grows. Plant growth rate is exponential with temperature. Vegetables are annuals. Most complete their life cycle in 6 months or less, so you need to grow fast as possible for best results. This makes growing vegetables both fun and challenging. I want to digress just for a minute. In our mild climate, sometimes vegetables just keep growing like like tomatoes, which are a summer vegetable, will grow into the winter. Sometimes a winter vegetable such as broccoli will grow into the summer. Kale just seems to keep growing all the time, never quits. Why are tall plants and first planting planted at the north end of the garden? So they don't shade the plants behind them. What are the two problems planting near trees? Shade and root flare. And one more thing. Gardening is cheaper than therapy, and you get tomatoes. Happy gardening, everybody. I'm done.
Thank you, John. Next up, we have Ken. Ken, do you want to share your screen or you want me to share off of the PowerPoint?
I think Diane was
I
going to
think
talk.
I'm next.
Oh, Diane, you're going to go?
So yeah, if you could continue to navigate the PowerPoint, that'd be great. On to the next slide, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I've already emphasized how soil is important to the success of your garden, the importance of healthy soil. And one of those factors is soil texture. So if we could emphasize just paying attention to the little pie chart on the left side of this slide, as gardeners, it's important to think of the soil not just as these rocky, gritty, dusty part, but part of the soil. One important soil components are the pore spaces, and they contain air and or water. And then the little green pie shape, organic material. The organic material, we could just spend a whole class on that alone. It's an incredibly fantastic universe, what happens at the organic level of soil. So we're going to pay attention to soil structure, and in the next couple of slides, I'll show you how you can determine your soil texture. But we'll go back up to the first slide first. There we go, stop there. And this quote in the middle is from your handbook. Soil texture is one of the most important physical properties because it determines tilth, that is, how good it is for growing plants, as well as nutrient and water holding capacities. In other words, how well does it hold on to water? How well does it drain? How well does it aerate? And how well does it hold on to and make nutrients available? So soil texture can be qualitatively described by its feel, its texture, and then quantitatively, it's described as what is the proportion of each of these three particles, sizes and types: sand, silt, and clay. So sand, as we know, is a large, gritty, coarse particle. As when we go to the beach, we all know it drains very well, it dries out very well. So it aerates well, but it doesn't hold on to nutrients. Silt is much smaller. It's also coarse and round. It holds on to water a little better. Drainage is okay, but also it does not hold on to nutrients. And its texture is said to be kind of smooth and velvety. It's described as flour-like, like baking flour. Clay is the tiniest particle size, and unlike the other two, they're like flat plates like roof shingles. And because of their tiny size and that shape, it's easy to understand how they're very poor at drainage. They hold on to water, but very importantly, clay's particles are negatively charged, so they're importantly good at holding on to important nutrients for the soil. So you need all three of these types. So next slide. So you are going to have a handout, and just because I don't want to risk sharing screen, your handout that you'll have available to you is called Estimating Soil Texture, and it's kind of like this. And this is a 5-page handout, and it's going to make it very easy. The instructions are very clear, very simple. If you have kids, it's kind of a fun exercise to do with grammar school age kids. You'll essentially take a mason jar, fill it with soil and water per the directions, and shake it up. And as the contents settle, it'll settle out like the picture in the middle, and you'll get layers of sand, silt, and clay. One tip that you'll want to make a note of when you're doing this, the arithmetic is very simple, but it's made easier if you use millimeter measurements rather than inch measurements. Then you'll take these measurements and you'll have on your handout this soil texture triangle. This is a little hard to read, but per the example in the middle photo, we have the silt axis with 10% silt. On the bottom, we have the sand axis. Thank you, Ken. With 70% sand. And on the left, we have the clay axis with 20%. The point where these three axes converge tell you your soil texture. In the case of this example, this soil is on the borderline between sandy clay loam and sandy loam. The ideal is loam because loam is roughly equal parts sand, silt, and clay, and that provides the ideal drainage, moisture retention, nutrient retention, and I mentioned drainage and aeration. So also in that handout, next slide, there's another way. This is a little less quantitative, but it's another way to, by feel, get an idea of the texture of your soil. You literally, again, do this with kids. You make a ball and see how easy it is to make a ball. And then on the right side, how easy it is to make a little ribbon of that. In those instructions, again, there's a little flow sheet and it's very easy to do. So this example is obviously clay because it's very easy to make a ribbon, a big, long, flat ribbon out of that soil type. So I really strongly encourage you to do this. This is a really valuable indication of your soil texture. And if you find that your soil is of an extreme texture, we can help you. There's various practices you can do to improve your soil texture. So that's it for me. And if you have any problems, of course, reach out to us if you have any problems, how to interpret your soil texture results or how to do it. So I think it's on to Ken.
Hi, I'm Ken Fallstrom, Master Gardener. I became one in 2008. I see we're at 30 minutes and I know we're going to try to get to a long period of questions. What do you think, Abe? He's muted.
Ken, let's take it away there.
Okay, the next slide. So this is about seed packets. If you look on the packet on the left, maybe you could zoom in just a little bit. Over on the margin, it shows suggested seed depth, space requirements, how long it takes to germinate, days to harvest, and so forth. And on the right, it has other information. If you zoom out, you'll see this is the one on the right is a more typical kind of a seed pack. There's instructions on, or what the grower says. You have to remember that all seed packs, or most seed packs, are sold throughout the United States, so they don't necessarily, they're not specific to you. They're seed packs. They're selling seed packs. What we want to do with seeds, seeds are wonderful little things. They're self-contained and they reproduce they reproduce from their parent. Sometimes the same, sometimes not the same. But they're just it's little miracles the way that seeds work. And what we want to do when we plant seeds is we want them to germinate. If you go to the next slide. I wish I'd known this when I was 12. This shows the temperatures at which different seed germinates. And on the far left of you see the blue line, for example, with beets. It says that beets will not germinate below 40 degrees. The yellowish dot shows that it's practical to germinate them at 50 degrees. And the black dot shows that at above 80 degrees is the optimal time to germinate beet seeds. Now, it's not 80 degrees when we plant beet seeds generally. So if you want to start beet seeds, you can start them in flats and you can heat them. You can put heat under them or some sort of container, and you can start your own seeds. and you can speed up the process by putting heat underneath. So when you plant seeds in the ground, the minimum soil temperature needs to be measured if you want to really get the best germination. You know, you can throw a bunch of seeds out at 40 degrees and some of them will come up and some of them won't. If you do it at 50 degrees, more of them will come up. If you want 90% of them to come up, you start them at 80 degrees. So that's minimum germination temperature, ideal germination temperature, and maximum. This would say that above 90 degrees, beet seeds, for example, won't germinate. So what we do is the soil temperature, if you plant them in the soil, if you measure it at 4 inches deep at 8 in the morning, that tells you what the soil temperature is for the purposes of this graph, for example. So the plants that germinate in 40 degrees, like the ones you'll be planting shortly probably, which include beets and spinach, that's on your list. The cabbages, which I think is also on your list, along with onions, germinate at 50 degrees. Corn and tomatoes don't germinate till 55 degrees is a practical time to plant them. And then the heat lovers like cucumbers and tomatoes, they don't germinate until 70 degrees optimally. So at the practical temperature, you may not get 100% germination, but you'll get the crop at the right time. If you plant too soon, you'll get too little. If you plant too late, like in the Southwest here, there may be too much summer heat and you get little production. So that's the ground temperature. Next slide. There's also, whoops, this slide didn't make it in, sorry. There's also ambient temperature, which is the temperature of the air. Cool season vegetables like broccoli and spinach, beets, these grow optimally when the temperature is between 60 and 70 degrees during the day and 50 to 60 at night. Warm season vegetables like at 10 degrees hotter. So it'd be warm season vegetables would want optimal growing temperature. They would want 70 to 80 degrees during the day and at night 60 to 55. So some of these vegetables like beets and cabbage, they will take, not beets, cabbage, peas, and such will be able to withstand a light frost even after they're up. Beets, cabbage, lettuce, carrots, and spinach, they will take a hard frost even after they're up. So a frost is when the temperature is expected to fall between 33 and 36. There's usually dew develops. If there's dew, there will be, frost only comes when there's water vapor in the air. A freeze is defined as 32 degrees, between 28 and 32. A hard freeze is below 28. And a freeze warming is when it's going to be down that temperature low long enough to cause damage to the plants. So when we're planting plants, we're dealing with the four elements. John talked about the sun element, and Diane talked about the water element and the air element in the ground. But the temperature element is equally important. So if we have these things in mind, I mean, you can plant seeds anytime, anywhere, and some of them will come up. But if we're trying to grow vegetables for use, if we have these temperature and sun and water and soil conditions in mind, we will get better germination and production than if we're more lackadaisical about each of these elements. So that, I think, is a short spiel on temperature. Back to you, I guess. Next slide. Diane wanted me to mention, Master Gardeners we have an email, we have a telephone line, and we have a website. If you have a plant that has a problem, or if you have some question about a plant, it's always helpful to be able to see what it looks like rather than have it be described, especially with diseases. And so if you have a question, it's take as accurate a portrayal photograph with your cell phone or with your camera and attach it to an email, and somebody will get back to you, hopefully in fairly short order, responding to what your question or concern is. You can also leave a message on our helpline. That's checked periodically by master gardeners in Santa Barbara. And you can look things up on our website. I'm not a Facebook fan myself because of what it's done to our collective consciousness, but you can also contact us on Facebook. If you want to find out, especially this first one, the garden website, if you go to California Garden Web and look under vegetables, there are pages devoted to each particular vegetable that will have growing conditions, it will have plant needs, it will have pests that tend to attack it, diseases that how to attack it, and how to deal with these. The other two links are for the soil texture and the soil testing.
If I can interject too, Ken, I wanted to emphasize that we really strongly urge you, if you can, to submit your helpline questions by email. It's just a lot easier to, like Ken says, to describe, and it's a lot easier for us to get back to you via email rather than with a phone call, if you're able.
But that would leave us 15 minutes or so for questions if we have some. Oh, you can show the last slide too. Get out there and grow something.
Oh, you missed the last slide.
Okay, we're back with Q&A, and I'm going to attempt to free up the microphones here. So let's see, allowed to talk. So there we go. All right, so if you have questions, I am opening up the microphones for Q&A now. With any questions for the Master Gardeners. And if you want to ask your question, you can unmute your microphone first.
May I ask a question?
Yes, you can, Lee. Lee Heller, go ahead.
Thank you, Abe. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for this and being available. This is so exciting. Why the emphasis on raised beds only? I mean, I certainly understand there are situations where raised beds are really what you should work with, but there are places in Santa Barbara that have pretty good soil at ground level. Do you not encourage people to grow at ground level?
That's a great question, Lee. I'll take that one, then I'll turn it over to the Master Gardeners. We encourage people to grow in whatever environment that they can grow in. So for some people who are fortunate enough to have enough land and a good yard with sun and soil, growing in the ground is a great thing. Other people have problems with soil or other challenges where a raised bed would be appropriate or helpful, as in like my yard, which is very small. We have people growing in tower gardens hydroponically. So we will accept vegetables grown in any of those garden settings from a growing community project perspective. However, you know, this, to get it started, we were talking about raised beds today.
I have a small comment on that. It's that the good thing about growing in the ground is that the ground has or can easily, most ground can easily be accommodated or amended to grow anything. Container beds, the soil, getting the soil right is a little harder in container beds. one of the benefits of container beds is you can keep the critters out. Like I have raccoons and skunks and everything else at my house, and
Gophers.
gophers. And it's easier to keep critters out of containers than it is in the ground. I had to build these wire things that I put on top of things, and the raccoons come and sit on the top of them at night. So each has its own place.
I'm back. Okay, now if you want to ask another question, you will need to unmute yourself. I've opened all your microphones, but you'll need to scroll down to the bottom, and in the left-hand corner, there's a unmute function for your microphone. But I have a question here that I see, which is in regard to raised bed sizes and depths. If you are growing root vegetables like carrots and beets, what would be an ideal raised bed depth to do that in?
Well, it depends on, there are carrots and there are carrots. You know, they've been engineered. Now you can get little globe sizes, and a deeper carrot is going to need a lot of deep space. Something like a carrot, 18 inches maybe, and that's a lot of soil in a raised bed, an 18-inch. But you would look at, like Ken mentioned, the information on the seed packet, because there are so many different varieties. The longer ones, that's why varieties like the Nantes are popular, because they're shorter, maybe 6-8 inches, and you don't need quite that much depth.
Thank you. Now, with regard to again the carrots and beets, our understanding, or it has been intimated that planting those directly as seed is much better than trying to do starts with things like carrots and beets. Is that your experience?
I think generally root vegetables take hold better as root vegetables. They're more stable, rather than, they don't take hold of transplanting root vegetables.
Actually, I have a presentation I was going to give in this series on that question. The benefit of being able to do your own starts is that you can start them earlier, and so you can have a longer growing season. See, like with beets, for example, you want to get them in. You can plant beets in December, 2 weeks before the last frost. You can plant them at the end of November. But if you want to get them in then you have to start them 3 or 4 weeks before that as transplants, for transplant. And then after they sprout and they have 2 or 3 weeks, you can gently take them to the ground. The problem with transplants is that you have to pay attention to them when they're starting, and you have to be gentle with them when you transplant them, and you have to do it at the right time. It's a little more labor intensive and skill intensive than planting them in the ground. After you get them in the ground, and when they come up by themselves, I think it's always a good idea in the ground to plant radishes along with whatever seeds you plant, because I go out there and I look and I thought there were going to be plants, but there's no plants. And that's because some little creatures, cutworms or who knows what, came and munched them before they were even sizable. The little tiny plants are particularly susceptible to insects and other problems. So there's an advantage to doing transplants. You can let the plant get to a size that it can sustain itself. But it is easier and recommended for most people to plant seeds like beets and spinach in the ground as opposed to in containers.
Thank you.
And carrots, root vegetables.
So one of the things we wanted to talk about, oh, were you going to say something, Diane? I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to reiterate for the participants again, we encourage you to just in the chat or just verbally indicate things that you would like to hear us talk about, topics that you'd like us to present to you.
Okay, I don't see any questions coming in at this second, but one of the things I want to do is just now that we've talked a little bit about planting, talk about the way that we're hoping planting will go for both new and experienced gardeners this fall. So to begin the program, we on our website have lists of vegetables, and we have two lists at this time. One of those is vegetables that we will accept and come and pick up now that are from the summer planting. So we're looking at the late summer, kind of early fall harvest plants. And there's a list of those on our website. And then there's another list that is our the plants that we will provide for people who want them. So at no cost to you, by participating in this program and agreeing to grow for our humanitarian gardening campaign, we just picked up seeds today from Island Seed and Feed, and we are going to take some of them to Suncoast Nursery, which is a professional farm nursery that makes starts for farms. And they are going to help us to create trays of starts for people interested in planting these. And so in particular, in relation to what we just talked about, our hope is that our gardeners, whether in the ground or in raised beds, will plant carrots, radishes, and spinach. Oh, actually, spinach we're going to go, I'm sorry, beets. So carrots, radishes, and beets from seed directly in the ground. And then we are going to take cabbage, spinach, broccoli, to the Suncoast Nursery to create starts. So then you would get little baby plants in a tray to plant in your garden. And those first starts will start being available in 2 weeks. So in 2 to 3 weeks, we will have the starts. Now, at this time, we have the seed, and you're welcome to do your own starts. But to sign up for that, you would go here, which is sign up for seeds. So if you want to get seeds and starts, you click on that button, and that will take you to a sign up form here, and you can tell us which ones you're interested in. And our goal is to get all of these in the ground here before the end of October, in the hopes of good germination. That's our goal, and to be able to start harvesting some of these things by Thanksgiving and on into Christmas, which is an important time of year for people to have food. So there's where you sign up for seeds, and I'm going to go back here. So that information is here. Now, if you want to share, if you're ready to share, if you have a garden right now and you're harvesting plants, we have a share page. And on the share page, we have all of the information that you would need to start sharing your fresh produce, including what kinds of produce are we looking to receive right now. We have a list here. Other types of produce, it talks about things that we won't take, just based on our handling capacity, lack of refrigeration at our transfer site, etc. And talk about our planting. Again, this is another place where you can get your seeds, and a little discussion on food safety and food liability. So one of the questions we had early on was, am I liable if I give food away and somebody eats it and gets sick? Is that my fault if I give my plants away? And the answer is no. If you give us wholesome, fresh produce grown in alignment with our gardening manual, and we give that freely for free to nonprofits feeding people, there's no liability for you as the donor of those plants. So if you need information about that or would interested in confirming that, we have that here on our share page, and there are links here and the phone number to our partner at Santa Barbara County Public Health. So that covers sharing. And if you're ready to share now, you click on this button and you can sign up for a pickup. Each time you want to pick up, you would sign up here. So, you might do one pickup and you might not do another one for a month or 2 months. So each time you're ready for pickup, you go to our sign up form and you ask for a pickup, and we will send you an email letting you know when we'll be around. We will be providing boxes for people, waxed cardboard boxes for people to put produce in. And the goal will be for you to put your produce in the box the morning of pickup in a shady location on your porch, and a volunteer driver will come and pick up that produce and take it. We'll weigh it to keep track of how much we're making. We'll sort it and we'll take it to the food bank. So that's how the pickup works. And we have partnered with Ag Box and Calpine, 2 local box companies, for the 2 types of boxes we'll be using, but primarily for homeowners, there will be a waxed cardboard box for packaging your produce for transport.
And you anticipate if you call for a box, you say you have a box, it's probably be picked up within what we don't know, I expect, but maybe a week, 2 days? Any idea?
We will, if you call for a box, we will do pickup each week, and our current plan is to pick up on Fridays.
Gotcha, thanks.
So the goal would be to pick your produce on Friday or Thursday night if you couldn't do Friday morning, and then to put your produce in a box out on the porch. And our drivers will come in the morning on Friday and pick that up. So between 9 and noon, and they will leave another box. So if you put the box out, they will come and take that box, and they will leave you another box for the next donation. So you'll have a box ready to load up for the next time. And so each time we do a box pickup, we do a box exchange, we'll leave a box, pick a box, and that'll make it easy for you to donate next time. But so that's information is here. Now, I just want to make sure everybody can find information about our Master Gardeners and some of these website links we talked about. So under Why Grow, we have education and frequently asked questions, and we have our own page for Garden Wisdom Wednesdays. But if we go to the education page here, there's a picture of a young gardener getting educated in a very successful raised bed garden here in Santa Barbara. So here again in this education is where you can download garden manuals in English and in Spanish, as well as the composting ABCs, which is a wonderful guide, is also available in English and in Spanish. Our seasonal planting list is in this education, another way to sign up for Garden Wisdom Wednesdays. And then some of these websites, the Master Gardeners website, is also linked here, as well as the helpline. And as questions come in, we will add those to our FAQ here. And there's a whole list of questions and answers there. And if you don't see your question there, then we encourage you to reach out to the Master Gardeners, preferably through their email, which we will add to this. Now that we saw that on the PowerPoint, we'll add their email address to the site here for you to find, and we'll get you answers to your garden questions. As always, one of the good things to know is you can always contact the Santa Barbara Bucket Brigade. So our contact email is contact@sbbucketbrigade.org. If you have a question about the program, not specific to gardens, you don't want to call the Master Gardeners if you're worried about pickup. You do want to call the Master Gardeners if you're having trouble with beetles or caterpillars, or you're trying to get more produce out of your garden. So in terms of who to ask, if it's about our program and pickups and getting seeds, call the Bucket Brigade or email us. And if it's a garden wisdom question or technical question about gardening, we have the experts here, the Master Gardeners. Okay, I'm gonna stop the screen share here. Very good, that we've hit exactly an hour. So guys, I don't see any more questions on here. And let's see, recommendations to where to get a good composter. There's a question. Master Gardeners, will take that as our last question. Does anybody have any composter recommendations for our studio audience this evening? Yes, Diane.
I can offer that we got ours, we have a small yard. We got ours at Costco because it's off the ground. We have rats and critters and stuff, and that works well. But I am aware that, I don't know about currently, but the county and the city has composters available at a nominal fee. I don't know what the status is currently, but you might
Yes,
look at the
the
county fee.
The county has them, I think they're $40 at the transfer station off of Kyriel. And there, I have one and it's lasted for 5 years, 6 years so far. So they're
We got a
$40
response,
county.
and the response is, I got one there years ago and it was warped. Well, we'll give them a talking to, Lee, and see if we can't get their composter straightened out.
And I think Ken's answer is really on point. As master gardeners, since our program is publicly funded, we generally do not recommend businesses. So I know when Diane was talking about her Costco composter, she was speaking from her very own personal experience and not as a master gardener.
Maybe that was a Bucket Brigade. We don't mind recommending local businesses. So on behalf of the Bucket Brigade, you can go to Costco. You can also go to Island Seed and Feed, and of course the county at the transfer station. But this is a very good question, and so we'll add it to our site. In our garden education, we will put a site. We'll mention some local places to A, get composters, B, buy seed if you want to buy your own seed, and other garden tools and whatnot. Okay, the last question we got was from Christy to say thank you to the great gardeners for the presentation. And I'd love to thank you, Master Gardeners. It's been such an honor to have you guys join our program and to provide this weekly education to gardeners and to answer people's questions. And we really look forward to a dialogue moving forward as people start getting these gardens going and we really start growing together.
And Abe, can we hang in with you after the conclusion for a little while?
Certainly, we can do that. I will stop the recording here. Pausing the recording. I will say before that, I'll say thank you everybody for coming. Thank you for participating in this program. And we're really excited to have you as part of the growing community.
Thank you for putting it on.